Welcome to Rauta's Rants. This opinion video is about a statement I read from a band called Mastodon on a Finnish news site regarding Mastodon making a new album and all that stuff. And man, this headline alone made me triggered. Why so? Because the statement is so goddamn stupid. It's one of the most ridiculous stuff I've read about metal in years. Hands down. I mean, it's all about saying some stupid shit with stuff that don't really make sense, and basically a first world problem. It's like one of those things when you just want to say, hey, this is the world's smallest violin playing just for you, my friends. I feel sorry for you. I'm gonna show you the website and you can basically start reading while I explain and go line by line what I mean. This is from the Finnish side, so I'm gonna use it on the background while I tell you about this. So the headline actually says Mastodon Bill Kelleher comments about releasing an album during Corona pandemics. Like, without gigs, it's all the same if you made a free advertisement to and pay $500,000 to get it published or something like that, or released. So basically, he is comparing making an album to making an ad. Trigger warning. And also, $500,000. Now wait for it. We're talking about metal band here. $500,000. No, okay. This is only the starting point. The worst is yet to come. So let's scroll a bit to the English part, obviously. So he's saying basically like, okay, we go to studios and we have to pay a lot of money for, go to recording studio and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I feel very, very understanding at this point. Making an album can be really expensive. That is, if you go to a high-end studio, you have a high-end producer and all that stuff. Now the question is, do you need all the amount of coke while recording an album? If you really have to spend $5,000 to release a metal album, you totally need to evaluate what you're doing. Are you sure you need to actually spend $500,000 to make a metal album? Let's be honest about it. Most of the 140,000 or so metal bands spend something like less than 1% of that money to make a decent sounding album, even a good sounding album. Now there are only like a handful of artists probably in metal business who need this amount of money to make an album. I don't know truly to what that stuff goes, but this just don't look like one thing. Okay, let's read it here. Say you spend $500,000 in a record. 300,000 goes to a producer. What? Is the producer eating diamonds and snorting coke all the time? And 100,000 to hotels and things and renting out a recording studio engineer, whatever. Seriously, what the actual hell? You make the record, then the record goes to Spotify, Apple Music, blah blah. I have nothing against Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora and all that stuff, but is it a joke? Yes, I understand it's a joke how little money you get from that. But let's just analyzing all this. First of all, nobody's forcing you to put your music on a streaming services. Go to sell physical albums if you really want to. So you just can, cut the string, cut the cord, cut the whatever. Don't go to streaming services. Problem solved. Oh, somebody needs to sell those albums. Oh, poor you. Lots of people actually have to do work in order to make money. Now, there's the difference. When you put your stuff on a streaming service, basically, work is already done for you. You only get pennies, sure, but you don't actually ship anything. You don't have to press CDs. And there's a lot of things you don't have to do. Don't have to worry about logistics like, truck full of CDs driving to different cities. Not to mention those boats and ships, sailing overseas or planes or whatever you use. Basically, you cut a huge part of expenses by that time. So back in the days, there was this saying like, if a CD costs like $20, 20 euros or whatever, an artist is lucky to get like $1 of that thing. $1 is way more than what you get from streaming services. But still, if you consider that 20 euros or $20, whatever 20 units of currency you're using, and you get like $1 out of that, you're kind of lucky. So that explains how much money actually is put into the physical product in order to get it shipped, get their retail stores and whatever, because everybody has to have their cut. Nobody works for free. This shouldn't be a newsflash thing. So comparing that to kind of a streaming services, well, it doesn't really make sense. But the point is, if you want to go selling physical releases only, be it CD, vinyl, tape, I don't care what kind of mini disc you're using, it's entirely possible. That is, unless you signed a really bad deal with your label, which is then again a reason that you really can't blame nobody but yourself when you did kind of a shitty deal. And labels don't work for free either. So if you're not paying the studio but they're taking your money when you stream and all that stuff, you really have done some bad decisions and you're living with that. Now, let's get back to this topic, however. So basically he's saying, okay, we spent $500,000 in making this album, which still sounds very ridiculous. I'm sure bands like Mastodon could pretty much do it with, I don't know, 50,000 euros or dollars, and it could sound very, very decent. I don't know why they would be spending $500,000. So they decided to make this own studio, which then again sounds like an investment to me, but it isn't really investment unless you are not going to make money with it. I mean, usually when people buy houses, studios, or whatever, they think that is an investment. Like, I put $500,000 into this house, so while I live it, it's gonna save me the renting money, and when I sell it, I'm gonna make the money back, or maybe even more. Usually all these kind of places like houses or different kind of studios, whatever, the price might actually go up. I mean, if the land price, that is gonna go higher and all that stuff. So basically, it's sort of an investment. Also, if you have a place like a studio, you could basically rent to other people and as such make money back via that. So comparing to spending $500,000 to buy a studio or any kind of a physical thing, and then compared to making an ad, it doesn't make sense. Not sense at all. I mean, it's really, really stupid thing to say. I don't know why he would say that. And I don't know if it was just to make the statement so that this would go viral and all that stuff, and now I'm helping it. My point here is it doesn't really make sense. So, for example, if you decided to go $500,000 for a studio, and in a couple of years you feel like, no, I'm not going to need it anymore. I don't have the money to upkeep it and all that stuff. I'm going to sell it. So even if you get, say, $400,000, which would be a bad deal, you basically lose like 20% of the value. At least you would be making that $400,000 money back. Versus the ad. Can you get money back from an ad that didn't go well? No, it's just money wasted. This is not money wasted. You're putting it in an investment. So unless you are going to make this investment into making money, that is, using this studio for other bands and making money as such, either you have to be super filthy rich, in which case you can say, I don't care if I spend $500,000 on a studio and keep it just for my own band or whatever. Because then you're filthy rich, you don't have to care about being an investment. And if you are not filthy rich and still not making as an investment, you have to be really, really stupid. I mean, who in the world has $500,000 to just like, hey, I'm going to spend it and I'm not going to invest it in it. I mean, rather put it in the stock market, make money, which profit you can basically use to make this album. So there's so many ways, so many pointers in this whole discussion, this interview, that makes this sound really, really stupid. Like, if you need $500,000 to make a decent sounding metal album, you're doing something wrong. There are lots of bands. I'm talking thousands and thousands of bands which gonna sound maybe even better with very, very little amount of this money, maybe like, I don't know, percent of this budget to be used and still sounding better. Because what matters more than your producer or studio being used is the songwriting actually good? Do you have good melodies? Do you have good riffs? Do you have good, singing parts? Do your lyrics make any sense? How is the cover gonna look like? Do you have anything important to say? I mean, if this is what metal music is nowadays, that you have to spend $500,000 to make a decent album, which gonna get some 8 out of 10 from different reviews on average. Maybe some will praise that, yeah, since you spent $500,000, it's gonna be this emperor with new clothes, 10 out of 10. And some people will say, yeah, it's great, 9 out of 10, because after all, you spent $500,000 on it. And then there will be some people saying so you spent $500,000 to make this kind of a 5 out of 10 kind of album. Job well done. Now, I don't know, but to me, this seems like it's more about pop music statement. It's more like Rihanna, going oh, I'm gonna cry because I lost my $100,000 worth of jewels. Boo-hoo. First world problem. I mean, I get it's a real problem when you don't get to tour and make your life, make your career and all that stuff. But other artists, they're like, okay, I can tour. So maybe I'm gonna write a new solo album. Maybe my band is gonna do a new album. Maybe we're gonna do some cool stuff which we normally don't have time for. But they don't crying about okay, we just spent $500,000 on something that could be used to make more money. I don't know, man. First world problem to the max. Play that violin, man. Get the hell out of here. This is ridiculous. Rauta signing off.